Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Good morning. Kape muna tayo. Okay, so I hope you had a very good week today. And I hope that you're going to enjoy your Shabbat. Plus, we're going to have a very exciting lesson today. Okay, so I enjoyed the lesson while I was studying it, and I hope you enjoy it as well. And so the title of our lesson today is The Wall. The wall. Okay, so we're on the 15th letter of the alphabet, which is Samek. Samek has 60 as its gematria, and the pictograph is a thorn. Okay, what's connected to the letter Samek is a sharp and piercing shield. Elohim's hedge of protection. You know, we're very familiar with hedge of protection. We always pray about it. Like, Lord, put a hedge of protection around me, my family, my church. Okay. So, and it also connected to grabbing or to hold. See, a thorn is a seed which attaches itself to the hair, to clothing. Okay. And it's also connected to infinity and limitlessness. Okay. That's the letter Samek. Okay. So we're going to start with Job 1. Because we see the word hedge. Now, the word suk is the Hebrew for the word hedge. Okay, it comes from the root word sak. Sak is a booth or a covering. Okay, so if you put the letters together, Samek and Kaf, it means protective covering. Okay, so let me read from Job because we will see that word hedge in here. And Yahweh said to Satan, have you considered my servant Eov, and that there is none like him on the earth, perfect and straight man, one who fears Elohim and turns aside from evil. And Hasatan answered Yahweh and said, is Eov fearing Elohim for naught? Have you not made a hedge around him? That's the word suk. And around his household and around all that he has on every side. You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. Okay, so that's the word hedge. It is a protective covering. Okay, so then we're going to go to Hosea 1 because this is the one that really got me this week. It went really deep because we know the story of Hosea, how God told him to marry a prostitute. They see Gomer is a representation of Israel who was unfaithful. And even now, a lot of people, okay, are still unfaithful to Yahweh, God's people. Okay, so Hosea 1, this is the Lord's message that came to Hosea, son of Beeri, during the time that Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah were kings of Judah, and Jeroboam, son of Joash, was king of Israel. This was the Lord's first message to Hosea. The Lord said, go marry a prostitute who has had children as a result of her prostitution. So he's going to be a husband to this prostitute and a father to Gomer's children from prostitution. So do this because the people in this country have acted like prostitutes. They have been unfaithful to the Lord. So Hosea married Gomer, daughter of Diblaim. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son for Hosea. Now, for me, that is interesting because the Bible saw it necessary to name that maybe it's a place or a place of her father, right? The daughter of Diblaim. So Diblaim might be a person or a place. Okay, but Diblaim means dry figs pressed together. So it's kind of like a cake or two cakes. Okay, Gomer means complete. So when you look at the name, Gomer is acting or living out a life that is opposite to her name. Or maybe is it completed in deprivation, in wickedness, or complete in righteousness? So she might be, had a life. She might had a life of completeness before, but now it's in complete chaos, right? And then that word diblaim, which is two cakes. Cakes are used for celebration, okay, or luxury. Okay, so she might come from that kind of life, but then later on, her life turned for the bad. Okay, so then, continue in verse 4. The Lord said to Hosea, name him Jezreel. So these are their children. There were three. The first one was named Jezreel because soon I will punish the family of Jehu for the people he killed at Jezreel Valley. Then I will put an end to the kingdom of the nation of Israel. And at that time I will break Israel's bow at Jezreel Valley. Then Gomer became pregnant again and gave birth to a daughter. The Lord said to Hosea, name her Loruhama, because I will not show mercy, I will not show compassion or love, okay, to the nation of Israel anymore, nor will I forgive them. But I will show mercy to the nation of Judah. I will save them, but I will not use bows or swords or war horses and soldiers to save them. I will save them by my own power. After Gomer had finished nursing Loruhama, she became pregnant again and gave birth to a son. Then the Lord said, name him Lo-Ami, because you are not my people and I am not your God. So the definition of the names are as follows. Jezreel means God sows. Okay? God sows. Then Loruhama is no mercy. That's Rohama, because Raha means compassion. Okay, and then Lo-Ami is not my people. But what will be interesting is the next chapter, because everything will be reversed. Now continue. In the future, the number of the people of Israel will be like the sand of the sea, which you cannot measure or count. In the same place that God told them, you are not my people, He will call them children of the living God. So even in chapter 1, He's already promising a reversal of what He is planning to do. Then the people of Judah and the people of Israel will be gathered together. They will choose one ruler for themselves, and their nation will be too large for the land. Jezreel's day will be great. Okay, so this is a messianic prophecy. Okay, so let me go now to chapter 2, because this is where that reversal will happen. Okay, now I'm going to focus on verse 6. Okay, now we're going to start with verse 1. Then you will say to your brothers, you are my people, and you will say to your sisters, He has shown mercy to you. Argue with your mother, argue with her, because she is no longer my wife, and I am no longer her husband. Tell her to stop being like a prostitute. Tell her to take away her lovers from between her breasts. If she refuses to stop her adultery, I will strip her naked and leave her like the day she was born. I will take away her people, and she will be like an empty, dry desert. I will kill her with thirst. I will have no pity on her children, because they are the children of prostitution. Their mother has acted like a prostitute. She should be ashamed of what she did. She said, I will go to my lovers who give me food and water, wool and linen, wine and olive oil. So I, the Lord, will block Israel's road with thorns. This is verse 6. Okay, so now because of her decision to go prostituting some more, this is what the Lord is going to do. Therefore, see, I am hedging up your way with thorns, and I shall wall her in so that she does not find her paths. Okay, so another translation, it says this: so I, the Lord, will block Israel's road with thorns, and I will build a wall. Then she will not be able to find her path. Another translation: therefore, behold, I will hedge up thy way with thorns, and I will make a wall that she shall not find her paths. So it's kind of like the Lord is blocking her, right, from going to that path of prostitution. Okay, but here's what's interesting. In the versions that we read, it says, I will build a wall, I will make a wall. But literally, in Hebrew, it says, I will wall a wall. Okay, so that make is actually wall a wall. Okay, so the word wall in Hebrew is gader, right? That is, but what's interesting is the meaning of that gader in English, because it means circumvallation. So I don't know if you know this word, but it is a military term. So he's saying, I will wall a wall. Now, when you're besieging a fort, okay, so imagine a fort. Okay, if you watch those medieval time, movies, they have fort and then they have this gate or wall. All right, so the first wall, the first enclosure around the fort is called a contravallation. Contra. Okay, so then they have all the spikes pointing toward the fort. Okay, now the purpose of this enclosure is to protect the besieger, okay, the attackers, from the defense, because the one in the fort will defend the fort, right? Will defend themselves. So that is a protection against, right, the people in the fort. Now, the people in the fort might have allies. So these allies might come to the aid of the people of the fort, right? So then what the attackers will do, they will create another enclosure, right? This is what they call the circumvallation. right? Now the spikes of the wall, okay, it's kind of like, you know, those you see them in movies, they're like sticks. Right, and then they serve like an enclosure. Okay, so the second enclosure is called circumvallation, and all the spikes are pointing toward the field attackers, okay, the allies of the one that are in the fort. So, and this is that word, wall, a wall. Okay, make a wall in the translations that we have read, but in Hebrew it gives us a better picture, because this is kind of like a military tactic, okay, to prevent the attacker from being attacked both by the people inside and the people outside. So what God is trying to show here is that He is, when we are going astray, because you'll see in verse 6, He's actually putting thorns in the road. So He has that way of protection on the road itself, right? And then He has these two walls. Okay, so what is showing us is protecting us against ourselves, protecting us from the decisions that we make, but He also protects us in creating this enclosure, this wall of protection, this hedge of protection from outside influence. So what He is saying here is that He's preventing Israel, He is preventing Gomer from going to a path of destruction. And that is what the Lord is trying to do, destroying ourselves from within and destruction from outside. So, and God's protection is that. That's why that song, a lot of people don't like that song, Reckless Love. Okay, so, and in a way, like the singer said, God's love somehow is like that. It's reckless because He doesn't think of the pain that He's going to suffer, the grief, the broken heart. You know, He's going to be brokenhearted when we do all this unfaithfulness. But God doesn't care. He loves us so much that He will do everything in His power to prevent us from destroying ourselves, from preventing the world, from preventing outside forces to destroy us. He will put that enclosure. And this actually makes me really emotional the whole week, because when we realize what God is trying to do in our lives, sometimes we neglect that, we don't see it. With all the problems that maybe you are experiencing, or maybe you are confused, or maybe you are depressed, or just problems are just coming from every side. You are being bombarded with all these difficulties in life. But God, just remember, He is protecting us in every which way. He is putting that enclosure around us. He's putting that second enclosure. He is putting that compassion, that mercy, because in verse 23, and that is what's important. The Lord, in His anger sometimes because of our unfaithfulness, He will allow all these things to happen. Okay, even in the case of Job, I'm sorry, very emotional. In the story of Job, he didn't even do anything. It's just the enemy wanted to prove, right, that the reason why Job is doing all this faithfulness, being faithful and dedicated to God, is because God is putting this hedge of protection around him. But we see in the story, Job is a faithful man, and God, on the other hand, is much more faithful to him. He restored everything, and that is what God is doing. But before I go to verse 23, verse 14 says this: "So I, the Lord, will speak romantic words." That word is allure, or to persuade, or to woo, right? Like a husband wooing that prostitute wife. "I will persuade her. I will lead her into the desert and speak tender words." You say, okay, you're wooing me to the desert. Desert is a dead place. Desert is a hot place. Why are you taking me to the desert? But in Hebrew, the word desert is dabar. The word is, it means word. It means sanctuary even. Okay, so what the Lord is saying is, when you go away from me, I'm going to speak these romantic words. I'm going to speak words of love, words of alluring, word of persuasion. And I want you to come back. Like, I don't want you to go. I want you to take me as your groom, as your husband. And that is what God is doing to us people, to His people, right? And so He's taking us to this sanctuary when we are so far from Him, when we have fallen, when we are so, in the bog, in the mire of sin. He goes there and it takes us away from there, and he cleans us, and he takes us home. He takes us to this comfort place, this safe place, and he will love us again. And then, okay, now I'm gonna go to um to verse 23. Okay, and this is what it says. And I shall sow her for myself in the earth. I will establish her, because that's what he said. Jezreel is, God sows, but he's going to sow judgment. But this time, what he's gonna do is gonna establish Israel. He's going to make it strong. Right? And I shall have compassion on her who had not obtained compassion. So he's going to show us mercy. He's going to show Israel grace, like he's going to love her, right? And then I shall say to these people who were not my people, you are my people, while they say my Elohim. See, they will call him his my husband, not my master, my Baal, right? So this lesson today, I hope it encouraged you. Okay, like it encouraged me so much this week. And let's realize that God is fighting. That's why we go back to that verse again. In my Father's house are many people, are many mansions. And I go there and prepare a place. That word prepare, fight. Okay, I fight for our existence. God is fighting for our existence. Like even to the death, right? Yahushua gave his life. Even to the death, he loved us. So that is how much our master, our redeemer loves us so much. So I hope that you will feel loved, because you are truly loved. You are cared for. So don't worry about anything. Give everything to him. Trust him, because he is there as our husband who will love us and accept us and embrace us when we need him. Amen. So I hope this encouraged you today, and come back again next week for another. I hope it's not it's not a lesson that makes you cry like this, but it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing, because it's a cry of love and joy and gratitude. Okay, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. See you again next week. Bye.